Hey everybody, welcome to the Messer Financial Group MFG Plus training. This training, we're going to be going over some basic things like importing lists, creating smart lists, contact management, opportunity management, which is your sales pipeline, and then also tagging and reporting of contacts so you can actually find them. So when would you actually do this? This is if you've got a list of contacts from a lead vendor, or perhaps you downloaded it from MFG, which is the quoting platform, and you want to get them into the MFG Plus platform, which is your marketing platform. It could come from a lead vendor, doesn't really matter, but you do need to make sure that it is a CSV file, not an XLS file. So let's get one open right here. And you notice I've got some demo names in here and things like that. These are all just fake names, but it'll do for today. So we're going to blow this up so we can see it. So the first thing I want to do is evaluate the quality of the list that I'm going to be importing. We can see we've got a contact here, which is their first and last name. We've got this one that has a last name. It doesn't have a field name, company, job title, or a blank. Number of employees is blank. The email address is there. Looks like we got some phone numbers. Some people have street addresses in cities, some don't. They have states. So a little bit of a hodgepodge, which is typical when you're getting these lists. Most lists don't have everything, every field filled out on every single contact, but this is a good demonstration, if you will. Okay. Now you notice we've got a bunch of standard fields. A standard field would be is called a NAP, N-A-P, and that stands for name, address, and phone number. And the address is actually an email address or the physical address. It doesn't really matter. But the NAP is the minimum data that you need to send into the system, and that's name, address, and telephone number, or email address and phone number. And the reason is, there's no sense in putting a contact in there if you don't have a telephone number or an email address or a mailing address, because you need some way of getting in contact with these people. So first thing I'm doing is, looks like we've got at least one piece of contact information for every contact, so that's good. Our phone numbers, or our names, are split out into one column, and this one has two columns. And best practice is to have a first name and a last name column. So we're going to fix this. First thing we're going to do is, you can either just, if it's a short list, just type it out. It's faster. But if you have a longer list, then what you can do is just highlight the list in your Excel spreadsheet, go text to columns, and you want to do a delimited and next, and you want to use a space, and then next, and then finish. And what that's going to do is it's going to say, hey, there's already data there. Do you want to replace it? You want to make sure you have an extra column there. If you don't, then whatever column you do have, it's going to get filled with that last name field. So I'm just going to say yes, because I already have the field there, or the column there. And what we did was we just moved it over. And if you notice, we lost this person's last name. And that's because when we split it out, we didn't have it a space for that one. So I'm going to undo that and show you what happens if I put a new column in there and then do that same exact thing. I'm going to text to columns, delimited, next, and we're going to put a space in there, and now click finish. And now you notice Jones did not get deleted, and all we can do is just click there and drag it over. And now we've got a first name. So we're going to rename this first name. I'm going to rename this one last name. And now we've got just an extra blank column, and we can just highlight that column and delete it. No need for it. Now we've got a bunch of other extra columns here, right? Company name, job title, number of employees. If these fields are important to you, go ahead and leave them in there. Even if they're blank, that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. I don't like having them in here, so I usually just delete them out. Okay? There's no sense in mapping that field if it's doesn't have any data in it. We also have some other custom fields, and these fields have are not standard fields in the database. So the county, the healthcare income and payment, the social security number, things like that. So what we would probably want to do is create these as custom fields in the database before we import the list. This way, any data that we have in here has somewhere to go. It's got a home to go to, right? So I'm going to move this out of the way, and we're going to log into the CRM. And bottom left-hand corner, we've got settings. And over on the left-hand side, you've got custom values. And up here at the top, you've got all fields, folders, and deleted fields. Go ahead and click on the all folders. And we're going to add a new folder. If you notice, we've got all these numbered folders here. We definitely want to number this. And I'm just going to number this 0.0 so we can put it up at the top here. And I'll call it 0.0 imported list. Let's get rid of that. First thing I want to do is create the folder. So add a folder, and we're going to call it 0.0 imported list. And then you can put the lead vendor name or something like that, so you know what these fields are for. And I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to go down to page size and bump it up to 100 here or 200. And notice it puts it at the bottom. I like keeping things pretty much in numerical order if I can. So I'm going to pop this up at the top so that we can find it a little bit easier going through the rest of the demo. Now, I'm going to click on this folder, and there's no data in here. So now the first thing we need to do is create the fields that we're going to put in this data. So we're going to add a field. And the first field that we're going to do is, we already have the name, address, and telephone number, so we don't need those, right? That's the NAP. But we want to add county. So we want to add a field for every single one of these. So we're going to do the first one, which is county. We're going to add a field. Now, you have all kinds of different field types. When you're importing data, the safest thing to do is just select either single line or multi-line data. Single line data is just a single line of data. If you've got multiple lines of data, let's say a notes field where it's got paragraphs of text, then I would use the multi-line data. For this exercise, we're just going to use the single line. So click on single line, and then just leave this alone. This is what it will look like. And click next. And then what I like to do is call it, this is called county. And then I just copy and paste that down to the placeholder and click save. All right, so now we've got our first field. So that one's done right there. The next one is HC income. To make it easy, I'm just going to copy this, the name of the field, and I'm going to go through the rest. Add field, single line, next, paste that there, and save. The next field is the social security number. So copy that. I'm going to add field, single line, next, single social security number, social security, save. Now this one, if you notice, cannot create a field with the same name as existing as a standard field, right? So you saw that little pop-up. Let me show you that again. Can't save it. If you really want to have a separate field, so this is already a standard field, just call it something a little bit different. So you might want to change that to a social security number and see what happens. So now you can save it. So because it had that colon at the end instead of the pound sign or the number symbol, that's why you weren't able to save it, because it was already a standard field. So I'm just going to go ahead, pause the thing for right now, and add the rest of these custom fields so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so what I did was I went through and basically I created a custom field for every one of these values, or every one of these columns, if you will. These fields, I noticed that I already had them earlier in the spreadsheet, so I didn't need to create these. Like, there's no difference between who it was assigned to and the agent. The agent was who it was assigned to. So I didn't need to create a duplicate field for that. Also, there's no difference between an HC carrier and the carrier. It was just a duplicate field that came in from the spreadsheet. So there was really no need for me to create two of those. Now, if they had, let's say, a healthcare carrier and a Medicare carrier, then you may want to do that, but have different fields for that, but that's your choice, right? So in here, I'm going to expand the page size up to 50 because we have more than 10 custom fields. We've got 12. So we've got 12 different custom fields right now, and we do have a carrier and an HC carrier, which were duplicated. To delete these fields, you just click on the triple dot on the right-hand side and click delete and hit OK. To move these around, if you wanted to restructure them, you could do that. Now, why is this important? Because the order that these are in right here is the order that they are displayed under the contact name. So if I go to a contact, and I'm just going to pull up my name right here and shrink that. If you notice, we've got the 0.0 import list. So those custom field folders are created under the contact tab under the contacts right here. And all those fields are created underneath this folder. And they're in the order that they're ordered on the settings, right? So you want to make sure that if you're never going to be using the Medicare ID number, but it's nice to have for occasionally when you do have it, then put that at the bottom. The agent name, you don't necessarily need to have an agent name because there is an assigned to, and if there's only one user on the account, then you don't really need to assign it twice, right? So that's kind of an important notice, right? So settings, custom fields, and the folders, and then 0.0 imported. The order that this is in is the order that it's in under the contact fields, okay? All right, so once you've got all your fields created, you've got your list right here. Now we want to import these names. That is going to be on the next training.